Oops, sorry about that, guys. It's a Friday afternoon here at Yoke Break headquarters in Amsterdam. I'm getting ready to shut it down for the day. I'm pounding my, I think, third or fourth coffee of the day, trying to bring you guys about 20 minutes of awesomeness right here. So let's get the show on the road, all right? As much as I'd love to sit here and watch crazy pugs eat watermelons. So today we're going to be talking about, this is our Big Biz SEO Part 2, as promised earlier this week. And today we're going to be talking about scaling your SEO business in a massive, massive way. So without further ado, let's begin the fun. Now, the way I figure it, my experience tells me that massive scaling comes down to 4 key principles. And for the fun of it, we're going to call these principles the 4 horses of the Serpocalypse. Now, the first of those principles is systems. Think about in terms of systems and automation, a series of instructions that are easily repeatable that doesn't take you thinking or doing anything to happen. The second principle is outsourcing, paying other people to do work for you that they're better at or that they can do cheaper than you can. Pretty simple. Third principle is knowing your numbers. Knowing how much something you do today is going to be worth for you tomorrow. And the fourth principle, and maybe my favorite, is competitive advantages, whether it be building them, finding them, whatever. We got a cool case study on that here later in this video, so keep your eyes on the screen, man, or young lady, whatever. So you might be thinking right now, Kyle, why are systems so important? That's a good question. I want to answer it. Now, as entrepreneurs, our biggest goal, our real mission in life is to create a money machine, a system, a series of repeatable and scalable processes that consistently produces income for us. Now, systems are so important because the less work you have to do on a day-to-day basis to support your money-making machine and the fewer decisions you have to make at every step of the way, that means the more scalable your business or your money machine or your money system can become. The less work you need to put into it, the more it can scale. Now, I know it's a bit of a paradox, but once that machine is built, and it does take a lot of work up front to build, I'm not gonna lie, guys, but once that machine is built, then the less work you actually have to do to support that machine, the more money you'll make. Because you can take that time and money and energy you would spend supporting the money machine and using it to grow your business or scale it. So, question becomes, how do you do all this with SEO? And we'll tell you as soon as I take another sip of this espresso right here. Do all this progressively, one step at a time. Now, with every step you take with your business, with every action, when, like, for instance, with SEO, when you're building out your sites and you're following the strategy you chose from last week, you take notes, take a lot of notes, write down your thoughts, write down step by step what you're doing. You write down the whole process. So the goal is that you create a process, create a series of instructions, so that after the let me just go to the next slide. So that after you've done something once, you have a repeatable process in place, so that somebody else can do it next time. And then the next time around they can do it maybe you can do it next time, but it's much easier for you. You don't have to think about it, or you can outsource that task, and really you should outsource it if you can, I promise, and most of the time you can. So a pro tip on creating really, really good systems is to batch your work. Now, by batching your work, I mean doing similar tasks at once. Just in normal day-to-day productivity, you want to have like a set-aside time for checking and answering all your emails. Don't answer your emails throughout the day. Set aside 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, whatever, before lunch. That's when I do mine. And just get all the emails answered in one fell swoop. Now, the SEO business, let's say we, based on the business plan and projections we did in our training earlier this week, that you want to create 5 rent-a-SERP sites for, let's say, spine surgeons in 5 different cities throughout the United States. So when it comes time to build those sites, you want to do each step of the way that comes from taking a site from your imagination to reality. Do all those at the same time. So register the domains all at once. set up the hosting all at once, write the content all at once, do the designs or have the designs done, whatever, do all these at the same time. Now, there are several reasons for this. One, you're faster and more efficient at knocking stuff out when you're doing a like task over and over again. There's a little exercise. I just thought of this. I wish I would have thought of it before I put it in the PowerPoint. Take a sheet of paper and try to write, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's really easy, but when you have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and think every time and write a new number every time, you can't do it near as fast. And the same thing applies with, greater, more meta business systems or business operations. Now, the second benefit of batching your work is it forces your mind to think about how to get this done as fast as possible. Like, you start seeing the similarities and patterns that each task has in common from just doing the same thing over and over again. And you can use those kind of similarities and those tasks to, as the basis for your outsourcing. So, you take those notes, you write down, you create a process, and eventually you create an instruction manual for your future employees. Pretty cool. And you do it all just while you're doing your work. Now, one thing I want you guys to keep in mind about outsourcers and kind of lower level employees, and okay, this might not be the nicest thing in the world, but here at Yoke Break, we're here to tell the truth, so I just got to lay it on you, is that most of them cannot think. Not only can they not think, but they don't want to think. So your instructions have to be pretty good. And by thinking, I mean, they don't necessarily want to make decisions in a lot of cases. I mean, look, there's exceptions. We'll talk about that later. But they want, easy, reliable work, and they can collect their little paycheck at the end of the week. That's just a fact of humanity. And I'll give you an example of this. From my PBN domain finding system, I have the spam checking all outsourced. It runs like a clock. It's great. But in the at the beginning, my virtual assistant who spam checks the domains, there was a few .gov domains that were slipping through the cracks into my system, and he was spam checking the .gov domains to see if they were worth buying. And I had to point out to him and said, hey, there's no point of that. I'm not going to be able to buy a .gov domain. And of course he knew that, but nonetheless, if you write down instructions, they're going to follow them to the T. So just keep that in mind when you're, anytime you're doing anything with outsourcers. There'll probably be little areas or miscommunications like this. So you want to revise your instructions over time, which I've learned how to do, and yeah, it's just part of life. Now, in the beginning, when you're first starting to scale your business, your goal with outsourcing is to just get the repeatable task out of the way to save yourself time and energy. So that might mean the setting up the hosting, the domains, the content, the designs, all that stuff we just talked about a few minutes ago. Now, as your business grows, so should the quality of people you hire. And eventually, you'll be able to hire people to think for you, at least about certain things in your business. If you have a big company, you can have a director of marketing, a COO, whatever. And you can, get good people and pay them well as long as you can afford them. And they'll do good work for you. So just keep that in mind as you're kind of dreaming up where you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever. And ultimately, it's your goal to hire people who you can pay them X number $1,000 per month, and they will grow your business by XX $1,000 per month. Next principle, my friend, do you know your numbers? Think back to that money machine we were talking about earlier. Creating a money machine essentially comes down to this question, or this idea. And that is knowing that if you spend X dollars a day on advertising, on whatever it may be, on some input into your business, that will lead to Y amount of dollars in Z amount of time. That's it. It's real simple. That's how business works for you. With some of my product launches I've done, and with the one I have coming up, I know I'm going to have an advertising budget, and I'm going to know early on. I'm going to be testing it to see, like, hey, if I spend $100 on ads or $500 on ads, if that brings me back $1,000 next week, guess what? I'm spending that $1,000 on advertisements as soon as I get it, right? So then I will make $2,000 next week. That's what a money machine is. So an example of this for SEO. Let's say that spending, I'm just pulling numbers out here. They say spending $500 on PR links will lead to $1,000 in monthly profit from a Rent-A-Cert page. Take that bet any day of the week. Or maybe you spend $10 on content if you have a niche site or an affiliate site or whatever, and you spend $10 on content for a shiny new article, and you know that generally on average that's going to bring you in 25 bucks in AdWords clicks from new traffic to the site. Or maybe you have an SEO business, and hey, spending 500 bucks on Facebook ads or Twitter ads or whatever, or a newspaper ad even, if you know that's on average going to bring you in 2,500 bucks from new SEO clients, hey, you take that bet every time. You do that every single time and keep scaling. Now, a big part of being successful in business is thoughtfully and purposefully experimenting and taking calculated risk and revising, reiterating until you can find one of these equations. One of these equations we just showed you. It's all about, in business, it's all about finding your equation, and then when you find it, that's when it's time to scale, and you scale it as big as it'll go, baby. Now, after you scale to a higher level, that's when you want to start trying to bring those numbers down in your favor. I mean, just to illustrate what numbers I'm talking about, after you have that money machine equation in place, then you want to start bringing down that 500 you spend on PR links. Why is my pen not working? Whatever. That $10 on content, whatever, the 500 ads. After you have your money machine equation in place and you've scaled it a bit, that's when you want to start bringing these down lower and cutting your costs. Oh, hold on, maybe I just got the pin to work. Oh, lovely. Boom. Anyway. Now, I think I just said this. Once you create a stable business system, it's reliably generating profits. That's the point where you start cutting costs to increase profit. That's the point of cutting costs, keep in mind, is to increase profit. Duh. Now, there's two things to keep in mind when you're thinking about cost cutting down those inputs. First one, opportunity cost. Sorry, I take that last drink of coffee right there. It was cold. It was really nasty. I think we touched on this a little bit last week, but I want to reiterate it. We'll talk about it some more because it's really, really important, and I think it's something that just most SEOs do not think about it and do not get. Every activity you do in business, in life, every project you take on, whatever, you don't only have cost in terms of the dollars you spend creating it, not as well as the time and energy you spend, but you also have cost in terms of what other thing you could be doing with that time, with that money, with that energy. Now, this is particularly important with cost-cutting measures because the returns can often be negligible, slim to none. For example, let's say you spent 2 days this week working on getting your cost per link down. Normally for your SEO business, your SEO agency, whatever, your local SEO agency, you buy 50 PR links per month at $50 per link. So whatever, you renegotiate with some of your suppliers, you manage to get that cost down to $40 per link. Not bad, it's 500 bucks a month you're saving. But here's a question. In those same 2 days it took you to do that, this is hypothetical of course, in the same 2 days you spent doing that, could you have created more economic value for yourself than $500 a month? Maybe so. So just keep in mind there's an opportunity cost for everything. And if that doesn't make sense for you, if I didn't explain that well, hit me up in the comments or something. I'll try to give another better example for you. Now, the second thing we want to talk about, and you sneaky pervert, you already saw a preview of the screen when I actually clicked it. The second thing is, keep in mind the law of diminishing returns. Now, if you're not familiar with that, basically what it means is that you can only Optimus Prime, you can only optimize one factor or one input for your business to a certain level. And at some point in the process of optimization, you reach plateaus where optimizing that factor any further will no longer produce good results. Now, that's a brainful. I might have to have another cup of coffee here to think about it myself. Let's illustrate this with an example from SEO. So you got an authority site. You got 10,000 words of content on it already. That's a lot. You got AdWords ads on it or little affiliate products, whatever. Now you know from your last few months of your numbers that every article you add to the site, is going to make you about $100 in ad clicks from search engine users, whatever. And your fresh content is ranking very well and all that jazz. So the articles are great articles. They cost you $20 to have written. So hey, that's an $80 profit with every article you put up there. So you decide that you want to scale this process up more and more, and you want to start buying more articles every week. And then you want to start, posting new articles every day. There may be 2 or 3 articles a day, or 10 articles a day, or whatever. Now, at some point, and probably pretty early on, your net profit per article will begin to go down. So maybe when you start writing articles 2 or 3 times a week, it goes from $80 to $40. When you're doing it every day, maybe you're making $10. And eventually, as you just flood your site with articles, that net profit per article is going to reach 0 and in negative terms. You'll run out of search terms to rank for, or Google will get upset or something, whatever. That's called the law of diminishing returns. Now we got the unfun stuff out of the way, or I don't even have a word for it, out of the way. Let's talk about some typical ways to cut costs. 1, buying in bulk. It means buying a lot of stuff. When you buy a lot of stuff from somebody, they'll generally give you a cheaper price. It's magic. Number 2, committing to recurring deals rather than piecemeal one-off trades with suppliers. For example, if you're buying PR links, if you commit to a monthly package, you can often get some very, very, very favorable terms from PR link brokers or whatever. Oh, and the same is true with content as well. Third way is to in-source or in-house something that you used to outsource. So maybe you outsourced whatever process, content creation, to writers, and instead you start doing it yourself, or you hire a full-time writer or whatever. And the fourth way is to outsource something you used to do in-house. And yes, I realize these are completely contradictory, but the point is you always have to be analyzing your numbers, thinking if I hire somebody on full time, whatever, is this going to be cheaper versus if I outsource this, is it going to be cheaper than somebody full time? So always be examining your situation and look at it from every point of view. Now this is kind of within this process is where we really start to develop or improve our lovely dreaded competitive advantages. For example, remember last week when we were talking about that profit projection tool? Well, first of all, just using that tool alone is a competitive advantage if you're going against SEOs, because most of them don't do anything like that. So let's say you're tired of spending $50 per link to rank your sites like we talked about. And so you decide that you're going to spend $2,500 to build a new blog network so that your links become much, much, much cheaper after that. So you're able to do the math beforehand. You know the blog network will pay itself off in 2 months or whatever. After that blog network is paid off, you will have a competitive advantage for yourself in that you're going to be able to rank sites for cheaper than you could before, and you're also going to have more links to your disposal so you can be able to build more sites and more profit streams. Hooray. Now in practice, this is a lot more complicated. It's because everybody and their mama and their dog and their uncle and their Aunt Juniper and everybody else in SEO already knows about blog networks and is building them out and blah, blah, blah. So maybe that means testing and creating some new fancy out of left field on-site system that allows your sites to rank with much fewer links and cheaper. That's another competitive advantage. Or it could mean you create a new system to help you find better, more powerful, and cheaper blog network domains than your competitors are able to do. And also you're able to find them, not just buy them, but find them and register them for cheaper and easier than your competitors. Which, not very coincidentally, is exactly what I did and exactly what we're about to talk about. So this little system took me about 6 months to create. I don't want to talk about it. It's called SEO Autoflow, which is a really cool name. I just have to brag about it for a second. Let that sink in, guys. Here's how it works. Now, domains, ever since way back in prehistory, and since we were all a little bitty in the history before time and all that, cavemen and everything else, domains have been expiring since the early dawn of the internet. Now, when you're relying on drop lists, that means you're missing out on 99% of the available domains out there. Because when it's a drop list, you're seeing the domains drop today. You're not seeing the domain that dropped in 1999, right? So, not to mention that there's one big, huge dinosaur-sized footprint from if you're getting all your domains from one source, drop list or auctions or whatever, and we're already starting to see some of these footprint issues come home. These footprint chickens come home to roost in the SEO community. If you've been watching some of the blogs and all this the last week or so, So what the system I made does is just around the clock, including right now, it's crawling the internet 24/7. Just kind of like exactly like the Google bot does, you know, it crawls the sites and all that fun stuff. And what my system is doing is instead of looking for live links and content to scrape like Google, my system's looking for dead links. Actually, to be more specific, I tell my system where to look. So if I want domains in the medical niche for a surgeon client, I tell my system where to start, which is authority sites in that niche. And it's pretty good. It's pretty dang good about giving me a medical site if I want a medical site, or a finance site if I want a finance site, marketing or garage sales. Actually, that's a long story, or whatever. And listen, let me tell you guys, being able to build a PBN with all niche relevant sites, that is working really, 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 really well right now, and I think will be for the foreseeable future. But anyway. So then, my crawler gives me these huge lists, like hundreds of thousands to millions a day. Actually, probably about 2 million a day. List of dead links or list of links. So then what happens is that list of links gets checked through to see if the domains that the dead links are on are available for purchase. Now, if the domains are available for purchase, the next thing that happens, and this is all automatic, which is awesome, I don't have to do anything, just press a button, is that, or actually my VA presses a button, is that my SEO autoflow then will go out and find the Moz metrics on those domains. And I'm usually only interested in domains with Moz metrics, like maybe 18 plus or 20 plus, but I can set this. I kind of set that limit every time. It's adjustable, so you can customize that to your needs. So at the end of the day, once it's done, I have a nice, lovely list of domains for my VA to spam check, and it just automatically gives it to them, and I don't have to do anything. And so really what happens is, SEO autoflow does that work, the domains get spam checked, and I wake up every morning with a list of nice domains that have, with the quality metrics, quality links. My VA's already done all the work, and I just give final approval on which domains get purchased and added to my blog network. And I gotta be honest with you guys, it's really, really nice. And this is one of these things we've been talking about, systems and automation and solving problems once and then having them become assets for you. And not to mention that this gives me a huge advantage over any of my competitors who, I wake up, I do 30 seconds of work and pay $2 a day for a list of, maybe 5 to 10 domains a day that I can add to my blog network. Meanwhile, Joe Schmo, Joe Sixpack, Joe SEO Sixpack in Des Moines, Iowa or whatever, he's spending 2 hours a day going through drop lists looking for needles in a haystack. It gives me a huge advantage over him. Now, honestly, okay, first let me tell you that SEO Autoflow, this system is about to be available publicly for the first and only time for a week. And I gotta be honest, guys, I'm still a little unsure about releasing this to the public because, like I said, it's been a huge competitive advantage of mine. But I just know I have to. Now, I've been thinking about, over the last, I get a lot of questions about my domains and my links and all this sort of thing. It's without a doubt right now the most popular, the most asked question I've gotten from you guys. And I thought about, hooking you guys up with links or domains or whatever, but I don't know, one, everybody else is doing that, and two, it's not it's not as much of a competitive advantage for you since you can get domains and links almost anywhere. Maybe you have to work harder for them, or they're more expensive with me, or cheaper with them, or cheaper with me, more expensive with them, whatever the case may be. But it's not something that really will give you an ability or give you a power you didn't have before. It's not going to give you a competitive advantage. So yeah, at the end of the day, I just know I had to release it. I mean, this is what's worked for my business. I know it'll work for yours. And just having a domain finding system right now, an automated domain finding system, it's just a must-have to scale an SEO business, to really grow your business. I mean, there's no process for finding these PR or PBN domains that can scale better. There's nothing that's more cost-effective than picking up a domain for 10 or 20 bucks versus 100, 200 at auction. It's just the facts of life. But to kind of assuage my doubts about releasing this to the public, I'm really, really limiting how many copies are sold. Right now, my plan is 300 total, and it's only going to be for sale for 1 week ever, and that's it. So, if you're a Yolkbreak Mastermind member, which there's a good chance you are, and if you're not, you want to go ahead and drop your email in the box below, my friend. I'll be watching your email over the next few days for the Yolkbreak Mastermind guys, particularly ones been around here a little while and who like me and well, I think I smell good and all that fun stuff. I'm going to be giving you guys a chance to beta test this software because I've only been using it now. I want to make sure everything works for everybody else. So watch that email. It should be coming to you literally like 2 or 3 days. So watch it. Check your email. And you're only going to have like 2 or 3 days to join too. So keep that in mind. And yep. This thing, there we go. Yep. That's all for today, guys. That's me, Mr. Kyle Duck, coming to you live from Amsterdam PowerPoint. I'm about to get out of here. I'm going to go down and fish by the Amstel River, that little river you saw me hanging out by the other day. See if I can catch some snoekbars. That's how we say it in Dutch. Anyway, y'all be good. Catch you again here in a few days. All right, cheers, guys. Peace. Watermelon. Look at those pugs go. Ah, so cute.